Hey, this is the Nature Boy Ric Flair, and believe it or not, whether you like it or don't like it, learn to love it, because you have to listen to Wrestling is Real. It is the best thing going today. Woo!
The worldwide leader of podcasting excellence, the king of podcasts radio network proudly presents the Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.
So we got WrestleDream coming up this week from AEW from Seattle, and the WrestleDream begins for WWE fans are starting to WrestleDream over Jade Cargill, who has officially become and signed a contract with WWE this week, and she is no longer with AEW. We heard about that going on, and I don't think I even made a mention of it last week on the program. If I did, probably in passing. But it's official. And so that happened as of yesterday. Jade Cargill, former All Elite Wrestling TBS champion, the longest reigning TBS champion, who up until she lost the TBS title was undefeated. I think it was 85-0. She last appeared on TV 2 weeks ago, but now will join WWE, and she made her way to the Performance Center in Orlando yesterday on Tuesday as I record this. There's no word as to whether Jade Cargill will go right to the main roster or she will go to NXT. Age 31, she's been wrestling professionally for 2 years. This is from ESPN. Her in-ring debut came in a high-profile mixed tag team match, March 2021. She teamed up with NBA legend Shaquille O'Neal against Cody Rhodes and Red Velvet. And Cody was one of Cargill's mentors at the Nightmare Factory in Georgia. And, of course, Cody already made its way back to WWE last year and headlined WrestleMania 39. Cargill was TBS champion, the first TBS champion, and held on to the belt for 508 days. She's a Florida native, considered a major future star in pro wrestling and beyond. 5'10", was a fitness model before wrestling. Nearly 1 million Instagram followers. She played Division I basketball at Jacksonville University. Partner is former Cincinnati Reds player Brandon Phillips, and they're owners of a women's professional fast pitch team, the Texas Smoke. That's the background on her. And now she comes in, and I'm hearing the WrestleDreamers out there in WWE right now, they're delusional. Look, everybody just thinks that they believe in the Kool-Aid, that black and red Kool-Aid that Vince and Triple H and all the others put out there, that once she comes into WWE, she's going to be gold. Right. And I want to go in through and talk about where all these fans, they're fickle. They take their shots at AEW on a regular basis. That's what they want to do when they see a story like this. Like, hey, look, we got her and you don't. Okay, this recess kind of behavior, whatever. Okay, it's high school recess. It's immature, yeah, but you know, well, that's what some wrestling fans can be. That, according to yours truly. Okay. First of all, let's talk about the real obvious. Jade Cargill going to the company, that's a no-brainer. She fits and checks every box that if, Vince McMahon was looking for someone to go and bring into the company, her look is a star. We've said that for a long time. And I'll tell you, ever since I saw Jade Cargill come out the first time around, I'm telling you, looked like a star from the get-go. And I'll tell you this, I think AEW did a tremendous job of booking Jade Cargill in such a way that she was limited in her ability because she only got into wrestling so long ago. This was not something where she's gone into it for a long time. Again, she was in a lot of other sports. She's an athlete. So to have her go ahead and find her way into the business as she did, and she improved, and they kept the matches short. It's kind of a Goldberg thing with her. She didn't go in the very long matches, but when she did as well as can be, doing 10, 12, maybe 15-minute matches with like the Taya Valkyrie and Chris Statlander, who took the belt off of her. But that was after everything that happened where Jay got the win, and then Chris Statlander came in, challenged immediately after, and Jade Cargill went with it. And then, that was the way they got the belt off of her, was her ego being her weakness. Otherwise, They never made Jade Cargill look weak. They never made her look anything more than a star. Cut the shit, Tony. Like, she'll never get to say that in the company now. Like, are you going to just take, is WWE seriously going to be able to just take the character of Jade Cargill now and just insert her into the company? Or are we going to just think that Jade Cargill, is she going to be able to keep the name? I mean, I'm not sure how close to her real name that is, but really, do we think that WWE is not going to go and tinker with this character? It's ready made. I mean, if they wanted to drop her in, I'll tell you this, they wouldn't let her on the main roster in the same way. I don't think they would do that. I don't think they're going to give her the Cody Rhodes treatment. And that's what people are thinking. Because it's Cody that might have been influencing the decision. You know, if they came to him and said, hey, what do you think about Jade coming over? Or contract's up. Obviously, Cody will go ahead and sign in and say, absolutely, bring her in. And he probably lobbied for her to come in as well. So that doesn't make it, that's an understandable thing right off the bat. It's one of the first real stars to make it over from AEW and go to WWE, right? Not one of those that was one way and then came back. Not that. And look, we will get these free agents at some point. I think there's going to be some other stars that might do the same thing, but I don't think it makes much of a difference here. Listen, Jade Cargill already has such a good start of her wrestling career right now. And for WWE, they're not going to probably care about that too much. They're going to say, oh, listen, you know, we can still do better with her. We could do much more with our roster and putting a title on her with us, you know, in a lot of different ways. And there's a lot of different stars she can work with over here. But she's still very young. She's still very green. She might not be able to go ahead and work the level of matches that the company's going to want her to do. I mean, maybe they can. I mean, I don't think it's going to be too far off. But I don't see the company putting her on the main roster. I see her as NXT. They'll drop her in there. She'll dominate. And if they want to keep the matches that she has going on and also continue to polish her acumen, her skills in ring, okay? Her in-ring skills are the part that needs to be polished. The finishing school. That's what the Performance Center is going to be for her. Now, in that case, that's where Jade Cargill probably needs the most work, is the finishing. To get her completed with the in-ring character, the in-ring work, and have the time to go and work so much in NXT anyway, being a champion, because listen, you put her over the NXT title, automatically put her up there, you find a way to get Becky Lynch to take that belt off of her, and then somehow somebody else takes that belt, Jade Cargill comes in, dominates, takes the belt back, and rolls with it. And she gets her run as NXT Women's Champion. There you go. And runs through the gamut. And if you want to bring some stars coming in from the main roster to go ahead and go after her, great. That's fine too. But I think for her chance to be more in the Performance Center in the first place, to give her that finish, because it's not a downplay. I don't think it should be looked at if she goes to developmental and gets some time down there. Because what you can do is basically treat Jade as the same way you did when you gave the finishing work to Shinsuke Nakamura, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and others. I think that's what you get out of this. I mean, Seth Rollins gets that same treatment from this. I think you get that, where there's some success from other organizations, but then you bring her in with what she's already done, reacclimate her for this audience, because WWE is going to basically think nobody knows who Jade Cargill is. But they're going to be amazed by her when we put her on our TV screens. But they're not going to know who she is from AEW. That's what they're going to think. And they might be right on some of that. Because the fans right now that are very vocal about Jade Cargill are the ones that like to shit on AEW on a regular basis. It's just what it is. I'm not going to point out podcasters. I'm not going to point out any of that because I've not been paying attention to other podcasters. I've been doing this show. I drop in here. I watch the news and I come and comment. I just decided not to pay any more attention to the other podcasts and the other commentary out there, except for some. There is one person whose opinion I think every once in a while you have to respect what he's saying, because Vince Russo was on Busted Open today, and his concerns about the ability that WWE is able to go ahead and build a main event star. A real bona fide, like across the board, everybody knows who she is. You could put her on any sports show. You could put her on any TV show. You could put her on any late night show, wherever you want. And people are going to recognize her off the bat. Okay? That's what we have to consider. But Vince Russo makes the point. Dave LaGreca wants to go and disagree, but I'm going to play what he said and bust it up and put it on their X feed, Twitter feed, and that's what they said. So let's go ahead and play what Vince Russo said, because he's not wrong.
I'm reading these comments at 4 a.m., Dave, and I could not help myself because the WWE, who hasn't gotten anybody over aside from Roman Reigns since God knows when, okay, nobody, zero, all of a sudden, they're going to make a megastar out of Jade Cargill. So I just had to ask the question, who, Dave? Who's going to make this megastar? Trips? Vince? Who's going to make this megastar out of her when they can't make a megastar out of anybody?
He's right. And I need the audience to understand this, okay? I know that some of the fans out there, you are in a wrestling bubble. Listen, and we all are, all right? But we have to go and talk about the fact that the new company, the new entity that is TKO Group Holdings, okay? They're not going to give a shit about Johnny Gargano, Killer Cross, Bronson Reed, Tommaso Ciampa, all these NXT Black and White 2019 types that come in that have been damaged, okay? Look at the stars they took away that, they saw, okay, no use. Because you had a lot of people that were released over the weekend. And I did not make mention of the fact that Shelton Benjamin or Dolph Ziggler or Dana Brooke and all these other NXT stars that also got let go. I got that. But when the company failed them, right, and this new entity comes into play, yeah, some of these releases are going to be happening, and the company's going to be able to justify it. The fans are not going to like it. Of course they don't. They never like this. They don't like to see wrestlers losing jobs. I don't like it either, but that is the way the corporate structure is going to be. It's just a fact of life. It is what it is. So this happens. And then while all those people are going out the door, you bring in new talent, a fresh name into the space that fits and checks all the boxes of what WWE is capable of taking and molding into a big event, main event star. And the truth is, if WWE fails to make Jade Cargill that big star, they just fail in comparison. They just fail in general. Because this is a can't lose scenario. You can't make a mistake on this young lady. She is a star. She's got promo ability. Perfect. Listen, she didn't necessarily need Mark Sterling. She didn't need Mark Sterling. She did not need Layla Gray. She didn't need Kara Hogan and the baddies. She didn't need them. Now, it was good to have them out to go ahead and accompany her, but really, at the end of the day, Jade Cargill comes out there, cuts the shit, Tony, and she cuts a promo. And she can talk. She can back it up. She's legit strong, legit talented. I mean, just let her go out there into the ring. I'll tell you this. You put her on a different roster. If Impact Wrestling, God forbid, was able to get this star, I mean, they've done a great job with Trinity so far. Better than I even expected. But that's the testament to the Knockouts division of Impact Wrestling, which they do a tremendous job, probably better than most any other wrestling company out there. And I'll continue to defend that the women's division, the Knockouts division, is always stellar. As much as I want to say, they really do a great job of the women's wrestling over there. Fantastic. Not taking any away from AEW or WWE. It's just that Impact Wrestling, they were the first to really go ahead and showcase and harness and really put time into what was going on. But right now, Jade Cargill comes into the company, while there's a lot of things in the women's division that are lacking because they haven't been able to build a lot of new stars in the women's division anyway. Okay. We're still working a lot out of, using Becky Lynch to go ahead and work with other stars around, where Zoe Stark was going to get a bit of a rub by working in the program with Trish Stratus. And now Becky Lynch working with Tiffany Stratton in NXT, and she takes the belt off of her, but they're going to continue to have a thing going after each other, which is good. And from Becky Lynch's account, she's enjoying doing it. Bayley has kind of taken a bit of a back seat because of Io Sky, but that's for her trying to go ahead and build up the Io Sky so that she can be built strong, holding on to the belt. And then you have Liv Morgan, who's been a bit injury prone, unfortunately. She's been hurt, and Ronda Rousey gave her the rub, so she's doing fine there. Raquel Rodriguez has not really found her footing yet. She's taken she's been fumbled a little bit. She's not been handled well. They got her in with Rhea Ripley, and they're trying to do something with her now. Rhea Ripley is the one star in the women's division that has been made stellar. Like, she is as high as you can be, but she's not up at that other level yet. Where Rhea Ripley is like a star that surpasses the WWE universe. That's the level of main eventers that would need to be made. Okay, when we talk about main eventers, they just can't be, there'll be a Raw main event, SmackDown main event. No. Maybe a main event at a pay-per-view. No. They have to be the main event that brings other people outside of the WWE into the space. That's what TKO Group Holdings expects. UFC and their stars, they expect that. And that's the level of talent and the level of exposure and the level of stardom that they expect the main eventers to have. Roman Reigns has that. John Cena, The Rock, they all have that. Cody Rhodes has that. I think Seth Rollins to a point has it. But after that, you can't say that about the rest of the roster. It's not there. We can say what we want about Jimmy and Jey Uso being on the respective brands now, doing their own. Jimmy Uso trying to represent with Solo Sikoa the bloodline with no Paul Heyman, with no Roman Reigns. It doesn't work. You can call it the bloodline, but you know what? It feels like NWA Black and White. This will be NWO Black and White, while the Wolfpack is the real group that we want to watch. Okay? This is how it was. If NWO wasn't coming out with Bischoff and Hogan, no. I mean, NWO would be a little bit weakened if they didn't have Bischoff and Hogan come out. Maybe Hall and Nash do pretty well by themselves, but not as much without Hogan and Bischoff. It's the same dynamic here. When you have that big a faction, you need to have that. And for the sake of Jade Cargill, if they decide to go NXT, give her that women's title, she takes it and rolls. And just give her the time to go ahead and continue to go ahead and work at the Performance Center, finishing school. And then in no time, you move her up to that main roster. But let her make the main for herself. Give her the initial exposure for that WWE fan base that's delusional, sticks in a bubble. They will not watch any other wrestling outside of theirs because they think their wrestling that they're watching now is the best thing since sliced bread, and they don't want to watch anybody else. They don't care to watch anybody else. They just prefer to go ahead and shit on everybody else, and they do that constantly. And if that's what they want to do, that's on them. But, in this program, I like to talk about other wrestling brands. I don't want to be stuck to WWE as the end-all, be-all. Remember, there was a time when WCW went away, when I didn't have anybody else to go and talk about. ECW was gone. TNA wasn't here yet. For a couple of years, I was not paying attention to wrestling. I had to abandon it because I can't just see a world where wrestling is dominated by the style and the format that WWE does on a regular basis. I can't handle that. Even right now, without the bloodline, the saturation of Judgment Day has taken a bit of a toll. Trying to make the bloodline, because we're getting Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso out there. Yeah. And Jey Uso's on the other side, trying to be a single star without coming in as a face and not as a heel. Nah. Not helping too much either. And there's no ramp to main event status for just about anybody else they have. I mean, Austin Theory, they're working on really hard to get there. It's going to take some time for them to build that up. Because remember, for Seth Rollins, it took about 5 years or so, or more. I'll say this too. And I'm sure some of you are going to disagree with me on this. But when we've had stars that were in WWE and moved over to AEW, I wouldn't have said this about 6 months to a year ago. But I think with the Collision show that debuted over the summer, I honestly think that has helped to right the ship on splitting up a bit of the talent to give the talent that they have out there that were stalwarts and were really popular in WWE, maybe not main event status, but near the main event. They've been given time to be something more and to build upon themselves status that really makes them stand out. The House of Black right now is a very solid faction. I like the way they're being built up and how they're being set up now. What they're doing with Miro is pretty cool. I like what they're doing there, and they brought back in, CG Perry to come into the play. Brought in the wife. You see what they're doing with John Moxley, and unfortunately he's gotten hurt again. But John Moxley and the Blackpool Combat Club, okay, putting in Brian Danielson and putting in Claudio Castagnoli, solid group, solid. And they're all major stars in their own right, and they've been put out very well. Tony Khan and to the people there within AEW, I give them the credit that they've been able to do good work with some of the stars they have. I think they definitely give a different wrinkle to Chris Jericho since he came over. And what he's been able to go and do differently in this company, with all the acumen, what he's done, and also what he's done for the younger stars to build them up. And for some people that say that AEW doesn't do a good job of building up stars, no, I disagree. They're not doing anything to build the level of main eventers that WWE is supposed to be getting, okay? Their expectations are much different. But everybody wants to put a comparison with AEW when that's a company that Dynamite's going to be 4 years old next week, okay? That's a 5-year-old company compared to a company that's been at 50 plus years and had a lot more exposure, and a lot more TV time, and a lot more of everything. I mean, you can't compare when WWE has had 40 WrestleManias and this company hasn't. All right. They just finally got the big stadium show. They finally got to do one of those this year. So you can't put a comparison straight up on the fact that AEW is completely at the same level as WWE. They're not, but they're a solid number 2 brand. And that's important. And they can still have room to grow. And the stars they have, they're doing the best they can with them and putting them at as good a level as you can. But AEW as a collective is not able to build themselves to such a high level yet. And they have some stars that can build themselves there. I think MJF has the ability, as he stays there as the main eventer, as the top star in that company, and he can continue to build himself to a certain level and really do something. But I think the building of what's being done with the Don Callis family, all the young upstarts he has right now, like what a roster, man. Will Ospreay, Konosuke Takeshita, the Alpha, and Sammy Guevara. Shit. That's a massive that's a really good, young, hungry of talent, of great talent that's been around for a number of years. They've all got quite a bit of experience on them, but they're still relatively young in the space. They're in their prime right now. But to get to that next level, now you put them in Don Callis family, AEW's version of Bobby Heenan family, basically. It works. I like it. I just need to see what they're going to continue to do with Don Callis, if those stars are going to win and continuously get the upper hand constantly, like they did it all in at Wembley Stadium. Or all out, excuse me, right? But AEW has done a pretty good job with the stars they had existing and to build them up into something much more important. Swerve Strickland tonight is another example where Swerve Strickland's trying to get is actually getting the level of exposure and the level of reputation. Like, his reputation, I would say, from Lucha Underground and from MLW, they count towards where he is right now. I mean, he's made a significant change in the Mogul Embassy. People pay attention to it. The Swerve dance by Prince Nana is getting over. It's getting viral. And Swerve Strickland is, I mean, in a better place than he was teaming with Keith Lee, as a matter of fact. I like where Swerve Strickland stepped out of that whole thing and where he's been a standalone. His deal with Darby Allin, his deal now with Adam Page, putting him in a program now, that's great. So I like all that. But AEW is only going to be able to do so much with the stars they have to build them up to a certain level, because the company as a collective, they don't have any of those level of stars that are Hollywood bound or being looked at by, talent agencies or whatever, and getting, invited to do a bunch of different things. I mean, I don't see AEW talent, if I'm correct. I don't think I've seen them do anything more where, the AEW talent got a reality show for a while. Cody had the reality show. Chris Jericho, Cody Rhodes, and MJF are probably the top stars they've had over there. But other than that, nobody else is really put in that space. But in the wrestling world, the PWIs of the world have definitely deemed a lot of distinction to the stars they built over there. In the wrestling bubble, in the entire wrestling bubble, AEW does a pretty good job with their talent and doing pretty good with talent that was an existing brand and giving them the chance to get the rub they wanted to get and the opportunity to go and get over. I mean, even Samoa Joe, I want to say that at this point, I like what Samoa Joe's been as well. The way they've used him has been pretty cool. What they did with him with Wardlow, what they did with him with CM Punk, the setup with him and MJF, eventually getting to that match at some point. And, MJF, or Samoa Joe getting to work in Ring of Honor, being that TV champion, and constantly just being in the role, being the heavy, being used right, Mr. Television. He gets to do promos right here. He's not getting thrown away as a talent release binge by WWE, by Vince, and Triple H has to pull him back out of the recycle bin. Okay. Samoa Joe is not getting that kind of treatment anymore. Samoa Joe is actually very much credible, very much popular, and very much over right now in this company. Remember, the rabid fans at AEW also being so agilant on all these stars coming in. Like, there's nobody they're shitting on at all. The fan base has consistently been very positive, popping for a lot of things, and very vocal. This crowd still is very much over for just about everything they see on that show. And as we talked about with WWE, it's a little bit different because when Vince McMahon says that the on-air product is getting stagnant, he's not wrong, because as we known with WCW, when they were still trying to get themselves up and over, okay, with the NWO concept, and they weren't beating WWE yet. By the time that WCW got to the 96 weeks, okay, once they got to the point where they were winning the Monday Night Wars, remember, half or more of that run, NWO wasn't that good. Like, their better days were before them, okay? Getting into 97 to 98, yeah, it was starting to stretch out. And you could see there was some weaknesses going on with WCW because they were not building new talent. They're not building towards the future. They were just staying within the NWO, and NWO was dominating everything. And taking a long time to get Sting out there to win the belt at Starrcade in a kind of a shitty fashion, but still winning the belt and kind of giving some credence to getting to a certain point that somebody in WCW finally got one over on the NWO. But it took a long time to get there. Pulling the trigger too late on that. So with WWE, the bloodline stuff was going on so strong, so well. And right now, the weaknesses are being shown. We talked about that. At the moment, ratings got a little bit better. But you know what? Now there's a talk about Monday Night Raw, that Monday nights are no longer going to be wrestling night. That whenever the next broadcast deal lands for WWE, if it's going to be with anyone, it could be Amazon, it could be Disney, it could be somebody else. But obviously, SmackDown now goes to USA, and some primetime stuff is on NBC. But Monday Night Raw, we know it's going to move out of USA Network. Doesn't sound like that NBC Universal is going to go and take that show as well. So somebody else is going to get it, and they might very well move that show off of Monday nights. And I wouldn't have a problem to do that. I don't know what you do then instead. I think what you would have to do is if Raw were to go and come back, you'd have to move NXT to another night and make Raw Tuesday nights. I think that would be the only thing they could do. That's what they would have to do at this point. And NXT, I don't know what you do with. I mean, personally, if it were me, I think NXT moving it to Peacock exclusively would be great. You know, I think if they were able to get back to that, where that live exposure where they had to go and like absolutely have to be on network TV, and so that all the developmental talent did not get a chance to get a rub, that's hurt them for a long time. I've said that. Making it 2 hours and also making it where you had to go and watch it, you know, outside of WWE Network and put it on TV. Yeah, I never liked that idea at all. Because that is essentially when the developmental talent became no longer developmental. That means, and that was on the purpose of NXT using them as a buffer to slow down and stunt the growth of a starting up AEW. Because they put it up on Tuesday nights. And that's what happened in the beginning. So, oh no, that was Wednesday night. That's right. Both of our shows were Wednesday nights. So they did that on purpose. So NXT's never recovered from that. The Rainbow brand has not done anything to go and make that come back either. There are no stars. Listen, and I like Tiffany Stratton. I like the whole look about her. Her problem is she don't have any promo ability. Her promos are very flat and bad. She needs some help on that. And I don't know what you're going to do about it. But to have her just do promos alone, like her going up against Becky Lynch, man, that's just bad. Poor thing. She's got everything you need to be a star for her, but doesn't have it. You got to be able to cut promos. And she doesn't. She's just not that good at it. I mean, in vignettes and stuff, sure, but like put her out there in the ring, cold, do a promo, no script. Yeah, not going to work. Her cadence, the way she talks, doesn't work. And it can be done better. But there's not much coming out of what NXT has that makes me think that any of the stars they have over there are going to make their way up. Ilya Dragunov? No. Wesley? No. Braun Breaker? No. Trick Williams? No. Carmelo Hayes? No. If you want to just replace some of the stars you have, you want some stars that are going to get up to like Grayson Waller level right now or Tommaso Ciampa level where they get onto the main roster by default? That's what all those stars are. But they've not shown me anything that makes me think that put them up on that next level and they're going to make a much bigger difference. But that's part of the company's fault. You know, they do the same thing over and over. They're just some stars. They're not going to give the chance to get on a winning streak or have them beat certain stars or have them beat certain stars at a higher level to get the rub. They're not going to do that. They're not going to allow that to happen. Consistently, they're going to continue to go ahead and they're going to do it on their own. They're going to do it their own way. That's how they're going to do it. No other way about it. And if that's what they want to do, that's what they're going to do. So look, you want to go ahead and think that Jade Cargill and this whole thought process that the WWE machine is going to be just automatically going to make her a star better than what she was in AEW? No. I will always give the credit of what AEW did to make Jade Cargill the star she is right now, because her work in AEW earned her the chance to work with the number one company. That is on her. She did that. She put in the work. She put in the time. She made the effort. So what she did essentially is she got what she deserves. She deserves to be in that company if that's where she wants to be, and she does. So absolutely, she does deserve the opportunity to be in that brand because she is qualified. She has all the acumen, all the ability, all the potential possible to turn her around right away into a big star. But you do need to put her in NXT first for the sake of her to have more time in ring, working. And then also being in that performance center and let the trainers over there do something more with her to work with her more and get her to a certain level where her promo ability matches her in-ring work. She's not far off. what AEW did was to a benefit was they did what Goldberg had gotten through in WCW. You accentuated the positives and hid the negatives. You didn't leave her out there to hang and to do a lot of bad work in the ring. For the most part, she did really well. Maybe she might have missed a little bit on some kicks when she does that one big kick before she gets jaded, the finishing maneuver. All that going on. I mean, what are they going to do with this character to make her any better? Because I don't see, personally, anything right now that WWE can do right now to make this character better. Personally, it's not broken. It's not at all broken. There's nothing to tweak, nothing to fix. But I think you let her build up the groundswell of this new fan base that obviously will probably have not paid attention to anything of Jade Cargill's career due 2 years in AEW. Just put it like that. Assume, because WWE is going to be doing that, okay, the WWE fan base, the NXT fan base, many of them will probably not even remember that she's even there. They'll just say, oh yeah, she was in AEW, she was a champion. You ever watch her matches? You ever watch her talk? No, probably not. And I wouldn't be surprised if they said that. So as long as they do it and say, okay, all these people on TikTok or, on podcasts that want to go ahead and start praising Jade Cargill because WWE is going to do what it takes to make her a star, their track record is improving that. Okay? When you talk about Roman Reigns, like, who else have they taken? I mean, without knowing that they were bona fide stars somewhere else, okay? Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles, pretty obvious. If you couldn't get these two over, you were making a mistake. I mean, Cody coming back, chip on his shoulder. They've done right by him. Totally done right by him. And as I said, that was the one thing with Cody Rhodes, is that anybody coming from AEW into WWE, that you have hope, you have faith, some faith that you could come in blindly and think, well, if Cody Rhodes got the rub that he did and they didn't bury him just because it was an AEW guy, they respected Cody Rhodes for his contribution because essentially he's one of the pillars of AEW as an executive vice president, being one of the founders initially into the company creatively. Also getting Tony Khan on board to put the money to back into this company and get it all set up. Because AEW, you can't talk about AEW without recognizing Cody Rhodes for his contributions and what it meant to WWE when he comes back over after proving himself not only as a wrestler, but also as an integral part of starting a second wrestling company. First of all, doing an event with 10,000 fans that was not with anyone that was anything related to WWE, okay? Even before the G1 Supercard with Ring of Honor, right? And so AEW putting the show that it did initially, that first show, and then being able to get their own brand out there and up and going. Because right now, they're doing really well. AEW, for what it's worth, their numbers are pretty consistent. 800, 900,000 viewers for Dynamite. Last week, they were able to pull 500,000 viewers for Collision, which is better. I mean, they're still not going to get 1 million viewers any point, any time, as long as football's on Saturdays. Not going to happen. Meanwhile, the same thing applies for Raw, which is going to be incapable, no matter what you do, incapable during Monday Night Football until February. They will be incapable of pulling 2 million viewers. They're not going to reach that threshold. They're not going to get there close. No. But that's the risk they take. And I also hope whoever takes Raw will not take the 3-hour format. Now we know that USA is not going to go and take Raw. The opportunity that Raw will go back to a 2-hour format, I think it will be beneficial for all. That's pretty obvious. It was USA that made the 3-hour change to their programming so that Monday nights were completely full in their primetime lineup of wrestling to go ahead and put all the advertising dollars in. The next company should not, really should not take that show as a 3-hour format. And for TKO Group Holdings, they need to go ahead and make it where the program is not being offered as a 3-hour offering. It should be 2 hours again. Personally. And if you do bring it as a 3-hour format, then you know what? Then take NXT, shorten it to an hour, and put that into the lineup on a night of wrestling for whichever channel decides to go and take this. Or put it on streaming, whatever you want. But as long as you do that, both companies are going to have their own issues when it comes to football. They don't have any answer for that. That's an example. Now, God forbid they don't have any other reality shows that are coming into play or something else that could come in that could also bury them when it comes to their programming. Because they have to be able to have their live sports compete to the level of other live sports. Transcending outside of the bubble of wrestling fans. Because there are not enough wrestling fans in America to sustain an audience that is what is expected by what TKO Group Holdings expects. Okay? They have to expect more. And they're not wrong about that. So when they're going to bring in and they're going to spend the money on Jade Cargill, however much they're going to spend, she's in there. Into the performance center. Give her some time. Work with her. Polish. Finishing school. And make her get the final touches into her in-ring ability and complete the character. And then the other thing that's very important for WWE that you also need to make important as well. I will say there's one story they actually have been doing, but they don't do enough with. Personally, I think Solo Sikoa could be even made bigger, but they continue to go and put him out there where, they've kept him very strong and not have him take any really big significant losses. And he's taken some. Cody hasn't taken a lot of losses either, which is exactly what you need to do. You need to keep these guys strong. So Cody, Solo, you keep them strong, keep them winning streaks. Solo Sikoa needs at some point to get a belt on him. That has to happen at some point. But as long as he is stuck in the bloodline, that's just where they're going to be. And so right now, for Jade Cargill, once you get her up in that main roster, whatever you're going to do before you get her there, like I said, you make her unbeatable. You give her the winning streak once again here in NXT, and the winning streak continues to the main roster. Because I also think you don't make her lose the belt on the way up. I think she relinquishes the belt and moves up to the main roster. Jade Cargill needs to be dominant, unstoppable, unbeatable. You need to keep that up in front and center. She just can't be in the middle of the mix with everyone else. That can't happen. But you put her out there, you have her squashing away. You throw Natalya, Nia Jax. There's others you can bring in now that will come into the space eventually that you make her bury and you get her to steamroll every woman that they have up into the mix. Does it make sense for her to go and squash all these different indie towns when she comes into the main roster if they decide to put her on the main roster? Because that's what they're going to have to do. The traditional dominant squash match. Couple of minutes. She gets in there. Done. Maybe gets a promo here and there. And that's it. Do we want to see her go through that again? Or do you want to see her, take on somebody, claim the NXT Women's title, run through the gamut, and then you put some stars in there that are going to really, push her to a limit? Hey, look, I don't like what they've done with Roxanne Perez. Where they did give her the belt. She got a chance to run with the belt. Then they took it off of her, and she's been kind of outside of the mix trying to get herself back in. I don't know. Whatever. Not much into that. They were smart about JC Jane finally getting a partner again because without Gigi Dolan out there, okay, so you got Thea Hale. You got her converted from Chase U. Now she's part of that little mini Toxic Attraction kind of feel to it there. Okay. But the women's division there in NXT has been very lacking. And let me tell you, without Toxic Attraction like it was together, that was a mistake. And I'll tell you this. If Mandy Rose ever makes her way back into wrestling again, and I mean, would AEW or Impact pick up on her if she's going to be coming back? Well, they have the money for her. Like, I'd like to go and see if they're going to decide to do bring her in after all and see what happens with that. Well, I'd like to see it. But back to Jade Cargill. Fans are going to go ahead and just use the entry of Jade Cargill into the company without any real perspective or any real logic behind why they think she's going to do so well. And some of the logic I've heard is just not, it's just not there. Where people just think that because of all the talent she has, that all she needed was WWE to be behind her to make her happen. Listen, you know, we always hear some people that want to say that, oh, well, WWE is like the New York Yankees. Well, New York Yankees right now, coming up to the end of the year, we're not even in October yet, and they're already mathematically eliminated. And that's one of those franchises, okay, in sports, like the Dallas Cowboys, right? The best of the best. They get paid, they come in here, the best of the best get played over here. Well, the examples of the Cowboys and the Yankees are not working right now because both of those teams are not doing so well. And no matter how much money you put in front of it and how much talent you might have in front, if they're not collectively working as a team and they're not being positioned to be their best, they're not going to do well. Now, that's not saying anything that I don't want Jade Cargill to do well. I want her to do great. Listen, no matter what, she needs to be on TV. She will grab attention. And if you don't realize that, listen, for WWE, they need to go ahead and be able to go ahead and do a much better job. And that's a high bar to have her have a better run in WWE than she did in AEW. The 2-year run in AEW was phenomenal. She debuts with Shaquille O'Neal. Memorable match with Cody Rhodes and Red Velvet in that mixed tag team match. Jade Cargill automatically, when they were building up the match, Jade Cargill just automatically just was like, whoa, who is she? And we all paid attention. We was like, who is this woman, this, you know, incredibly jacked up, athletic goddess of a woman out here that's like, I mean, blown away by her. Blown away. I mean, lights up a room, lights up a wrestling ring. And the way they presented her, okay, the music that you gave her initially when she came out to the ring, loved it. The presentation of her coming out, all of that. Her becoming TBS champion, loved it. All of it. And I never had a problem for her holding the belt as long as she did, personally. And the way they did it with her losing to Chris Statlander the way it was, yeah, that was fine. That Taya Valkyrie wasn't going to win the belt off of her. That's okay. That's okay. I liked it all. I thought they did a really good job in that. So she should never take away anything that she did in AEW. Her career in AEW was really good. As good as you can get. So the bar is set very high for Jade Cargill, and her expectations from the company should be very high. Now, put in the effort, you know, do whatever you have to do to step yourself up to that. WWE is going to do whatever it takes to get you over. But this company, it's the pressure's on them. It's not on her. She's got everything. The company needs to do right by Jade Cargill and put her over to the moon. Okay? They did a very good job of Bianca Belair, which is the prototype. That is the example. And not just because she's black. It's because Bianca Belair is also of the same kind of stature, except Jade Cargill, I believe, is taller. But, you know, Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, you know, if they were sisters, I could have bought that. Okay? With everything you could possibly want. Looks, ability, charisma, likability, athletic acumen, strength, all of it. I mean, that is women's wrestling right there. That's like the top of the top. Okay. Specimens of athletic prowess right there. So Jade Cargill needs to be pushed to the moon. This company needs to do right by her because she's already gotten a great run in AEW. And I will say it over again. And I will be on top of this to see what happens if they actually go ahead and do right by her. But these fans out here that think that she's going to just come right in here and just roll through and think that the machine is going to just put her in place and do it? No, because the WWE machine really needs to go ahead and do what they need to do, where it's not just the presentation. It's not just what you give her as an entrance or a catchphrase or whatever. She's got to be winning matches. She's got to be dominant. She's got to have runs with titles, and she needs to be seen as a top star across the board. I mean, you have it right here. If there was somebody to go and pick off of from the AEW roster, yeah, she's a great choice. Especially on the women's side. She's a phenomenal choice. I wish her nothing but the best. I will be following along with her career. And I'm telling you, if she goes to NXT and she starts Performance Center, that's not a rub on her. I honestly think if they put her there, that's going to be the right choice, and give her the chance to work in that Performance Center, get the last bit of training that she needs so that she can work long sustained matches where there's just so much she can do. And she is so comfortable in that ring to do anything in there, especially if it's going to be cage matches, Hell in a Cells, whatever DQ, no holds barred matches, because we never really saw her do much of that. And WWE's going to be doing that, right? Royal Rumbles, all these kind of things. You're going to see eventually Jade Cargill is going to get thrown in all those type of matches. Ladder matches. I don't think she ever got one of those either. That's all going to happen to her. And eventually when she does, she's got to be ready for it. And I want to see her being ready. So I hope she does great. I really want her to see who she does great. And honestly, I'd love to see if she can surpass Bianca Belair in terms of status, in terms of popularity, in terms of how far she goes in career. She should get to Bianca Belair's level, but I think she'd be able to surpass it. Just more of something to her that just adds more to it. Nothing against Bianca Belair. I just see Jade Cargill in a different light. That's just where I look at it. WrestleDream is this weekend. I just want to go through and preview and predict the matches. They've done a pretty good job of building up because you only got a month to do this. They set up the whole card, and they got a hell of a card to go with right now. It's amazing how much wrestling we've gotten out of them and how many pay-per-views we've gotten out of them. Meanwhile, Tony Khan has already said he's not going to go ahead and put in a system where we're going to have a pay-per-view a month. He insists that that's not going to happen. And I hope it doesn't. I wouldn't want it that way. We already got more than enough right now. But Forbidden Door, if they're going to do WrestleDream regularly, if they're going back to Wembley Stadium, that's 8 pay-per-views right there. 8 or 7. And then the Ring of Honor pay-per-views will put you over the hill. So, let's not do more than that. 10 probably is about a max. We don't need more than that. That would be really great. Bryan Danielson against Zack Sabre Jr. That's a toss-up. I don't even know how you want to go and pick that. I'll take Zack Sabre. I'm going to take Bryan Danielson, man. I don't think they're going to let him lose. Swerve Strickland versus Hangman Adam Page. I'll take Swerve on the win. 2 out of 3 falls for the AEW TNT Championship. Christian Cage, the champion over Darby Allin. And, yeah, I'm taking Christian Cage somewhere with that. And also, the sit-down leading up to the match, Luchasaurus being brought into the mix and putting that seed of doubt right there with Christian Cage got him all pissed off. That's good to have. And Luchasaurus was not accompanying Christian Cage. We got to see where that goes and where that leads things down the line. AEW World Tag Team Titles, FTR and Aussie Open. I'll take FTR to retain, even though Aussie Open's done very well. And it would suck to see Aussie Open take a second loss on pay-per-view, but it might very well be that. Really great match with Kenny Omega, Chris Jericho, and Kota Ibushi, and they showed that Ibushi got hurt against the Don Callis family, Konosuke Takeshita, Sammy Guevara, Will Ospreay. Don Callis family needs to keep winning, so I'm going to take them. I'll take the heels. World Tag Team titles. Adam Cole broke his ankle in 3 places in a freak accident. And so he will not be wrestling at WrestleDream. So MJF now has to go into a handicap match against the Righteous, Vincent and Dutch. And the Righteous gets being brought in right now. You know, let's see how they do with it. And I also did enjoy the MJF Jay White back and forth leading up to that. MJF just gets all these different people to go after him, right? Yeah, Jay White did not do great in the promo department, but MJF really did put some numbers on him where that crowd will just follow along with him. And right now, MJF in the more or less face version of himself, still very much over. And the crowd is eating it up. They're eating it up with him right now. And he's doing a great job. Every time he's out there, it's must see. Eddie Kingston and Katsuyori Shibata for the Ring of Honor World Championship and the New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong Openweight title combined, both titles on the line. I'll take Eddie Kingston to retain. Chris Statlander will take on Julia Hart for the TBS title, and I will take Chris Statlander for the win. Maybe, you know what? I'm going to take Julia Hart. I think House of Black might have some involvement in that. Or we already know that Chris Statlander, that the mist might come out of Julia Hart, and that might help her get the win. So he's already going with that. That can very well be a case. I'll take Julia Hart on the win for that. I think it's going to happen. And then we have a match, tag team turmoil, which is basically the winner gets an AEW tag team title match at any time. 4-way tag, Young Bucks, Lucha Brothers, Orange Hook, and the Guns. And for me, that's going to be tough. I'm going to take the Guns. Bullet Club Gold. I will take the Guns to get that AEW tag team title shot. That's where I think things go with that. There was some talk right now tonight that at the very end of Dynamite, there was somebody that was donning the devil mask and a bunch of people going after Jay White, but we don't know who it was. The speculation has been very much out there now. They're trying to say it's Edge that has already left the WWE, as contract's already ended, and that there's not any kind of a clause that would preclude him to go ahead and take a spot in AEW, which he very well might do. I'm curious to what they're going to do with that anyway and see what they're going to do with that. By the way, with WrestleDream, I must make this point to say as well that I will be doing a pay-per-view recap going on Sunday night after the pay-per-view. So go ahead and look for that here at kingofpodcasts.com. That's where you can find the program and all the programming on there. All my past episodes. Well, not all of them, but a lot of them. We'll have that going on there too. So they're trying to say now that AEW WrestleDream will be in movie theaters around the United States. And at the moment, I have not seen anything yet from Regal Movies. So I can find out if my movie theater is going to have it on there. I'm going to go and check and find out they will. I hope so. But that's what I want to go and find out next, is that if we're going to have the pay-per-view there, and if it does, I will go watch it at my Regal as like before. We'll see if it actually happens, but I hope it does. Adam Cole's not going to require surgery, by the way. We know that as well. His ankle exploded and he tore ligaments and he will require surgery. Excuse me. He will require surgery. He'll be out. And who knows how long it's going to be right now. When it comes to MJF and Adam Cole, that whole storyline takes a back seat. But it's good to go and see he was still out there anyways, which was really nice. Rhea Ripley was not on TV this week because of the fact that she was still in the attack for Nia Jax, which is interesting because Judgment Day without Rhea Ripley doesn't feel too much of anything. It feels kind of flat when I look at it. Now, you know what? I could go ahead and talk about what's going on with WWE when it comes to what they're doing right now with their TV product and their setup for Fastlane coming up next weekend and what they're setting up for that. I mean, we can go through that real quick if you want, and I'll do that real quick. Indianapolis, Indiana, next Saturday. And so far, 2 matches have been announced. John Cena versus the Bloodline. We're going to pretty much guess it's going to be a handicap match because nothing has been said about who John Cena might have with him, accompanying him for the match. And a last man standing match for the World Heavyweight title, Seth Rollins versus Shinsuke Nakamura. I'm going to just tell you right now, Seth Rollins is going to win, and this program with Shinsuke Nakamura is going to be done. Let's just put it as it is. That's what's going to happen. All right, well, that's where the show's going to stop right now. So episode 799 will be the recap of AEW's WrestleDream. And next week, officially, I will be doing show number 800 of the program. 800 episodes. God, man, it just moves so quickly. I just can't tell you how quickly it goes by. KingofPodcast.com. KingofPodcasts.com is where all my content's at. All my social media, you can find it all right there. And until WrestleDream, enjoy it this weekend. We'll talk this Sunday. Come back for another Wrestlers Real podcast because wrestling needs us.